So I brought up the weather impact table on the screen. So we're showing the game in Indy, Chicago with some wind, and the Tampa game. This is actively updating live. If you saw it earlier today, it was a caution. It could come back. Mike or Sean, you want to talk about that? And I'll bring up the preset map for the Tampa game first.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
I'll just mention that the rain in Tampa Bay Sunday afternoon is a little finicky in the models, and that's because there's a new tropical depression that spawned over the Western Caribbean today, tropical depression number 25, and this is likely to become tropical storm Gamma. And the models have this storm interacting with some kind of frontal feature over that's kind of draped across Florida out over the Western Atlantic. And each run the model's bringing potentially showing more rain or takes away some of the rain, and it's having a hard time with resolving the timing of rain. It's going to rain in Florida probably. Right now the most. Yeah.
So I have the map at 12Z, but what time is the game at?
18Z.
18Z. Let me move it again ahead for the. Okay, so there you can see that we're back to the green, and it was earlier at 12Z. So go ahead. Right. I just wanted to make sure I was at the.
Yeah. That's just showing that the rain is in the model showing it's being predicted to occur before the game time.
Right.
Yeah. And so, I mean, we've talked about this before many of times on this podcast, especially this time of year. We have convective-based precipitation, and we're just not able to forecast that as easy as let's say, a synoptic feature, which is actually occurring over Chicago. Over Chicago, we have a weak area of low pressure. And right now you see that's where our current caution is. But right now we're very borderline with rain there. I anticipate that this area of low pressure and the precip shield associated with that will move out of the area by game time. But we will have some winds funneling in, and that's where our concern comes in, because we could have some winds going 15 miles an hour or higher. So we'll be keeping an eye on that one too.
Yeah, it looks like the winds on this particular map that we're showing on the Twitch stream, it's a little focused or a little elevator amplified on the western side of Lake Michigan there. So there's some mesoscale things happening right with the lake dynamics in that northerly wind, and it's funneling that wind right over across the location of Soldier Field.
And I'm gonna assume mesoscale for the listeners is small or like pinpoint. Not so macro scale.
That's right.
Okay.
You're learning. Yeah. You were learning from.
Okay. So.
Yeah, and this is a typical feature we see near water, right? Especially in Chicago. People think that Chicago is called a windy city because it's really windy there, which it is, but it's actually because of politics. But it's also incredibly windy. And so Soldier Field is right on the lake. It's right on Lake Michigan. So. And Mike and I were talking about this actually previously about, hey, why is wind travel faster over water than it does land? And this is, something that maybe people don't think about, but the reason is that there's less friction over water. So the air is able to move easier across the water as opposed to land. So this gives it a little bit of an easier, the wind has a little bit of an easier time having an impact near the lake.
Yeah, it's kind of why we see a lot of stronger winds currently predicted over the Gulf of Mexico, and we're seeing those higher amplitude winds over the water predominantly, not over land. It's the same thing down there, and that's those winds down in the Gulf of Mexico. That's tied to that developing tropical system that we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I mean, and if we kind of navigate back down south here with that tropical disturbance, again, something we were talking about is when we talk about fields, the stadium, there's some important things that we need to consider. One is the orientation of the stadium when we want to talk about winds. But the other one is what is the field of the stadium? What is it constructed of? Is it AstroTurf? Is it grass? Because that could have an impact. And if we get some heavy rain here, even for a short period of time, it can make things super messy for the players.
Which is important because even having a quarterback in Tampa now that's used to harsh weather, the field at Foxborough is, as we've learned today, artificial turf. No, the term turf actually means grass. We did some research. And Tampa's natural grass. So, it could play an impact. We're not saying that we're experts on sod or grass or artificial turf, but if anyone remembers the game last year, it was the Washington football team, old Redskins, and I forgot who they were playing, but the rain,
49ers.
the 49ers, that field turned into a swamp. So
It was a mud pit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not as well irrigated. The water sits on the field. It becomes saturated. Players have a tougher time getting a footing. So, typically when we see weather impacts, we like to see them for the duration of the game. But when we have a field made of grass or constructed of grass, and we do get some heavy downpours, which we can get with this convective-based precipitation, that can play a factor with footing for the players. So we'll see. Well, it's something definitely we're going to be keeping an eye on for the next couple of days.
So again,
at the current time frame, I was just going to quickly say, at the current time frame, we don't expect weather for the duration of both of these games, so that limits the impacts.
Exactly. So right now, actually, we're forecasting. Colin, do you want to go to our blog page maybe quickly here to kind of summarize some of the things that we were talking about?
Sure.
As far as weather.
Oh, sorry.
And
no problem.
For those people listening, if you're actually listening to the podcast after we shoot here, if you ever want to see what we're doing, please tune into our stream on Twitch, twitch.tv/FFWeatherguys.
Or we put it on YouTube after, or it's available on Twitch to rewatch, I believe. I'm learning the Twitch program, but we have 2 viewers, so I appreciate you guys. Hope you're getting some information. Ask us questions live. I'll try to incorporate that with Sean and Mike. They're not going to see the questions, but I will. And if I may just make up stuff like, why does Mike suck at fantasy football? That was from viewer number, Astra627. So
I would have to say that due to bad commissioning rules in keeper leagues, that's probably one of the main reasons. So
yeah.
Oh boy. Hey, Colin, navigate down to weather summary and impacts.
There you go, Sean. Keep it moving along, baby.
Keep it moving. Okay, weather summary and impacts. Week 4 forecast.
So, yeah, typically what we do here is we just provide an overview of some of the weather to expect, and then we highlight some of the games that we're monitoring. There has not been a game yet that we are super, super concerned about, and that still remains going into this week. But if you want to know, hey, what are some of the weather conditions for games we're keeping an eye out for? One, again, is Soldier Field. We don't expect player impacts. Winds could be a factor. There may be some precipitation that hangs in the area, but we don't expect that for the duration of the game. And there'll be times the winds pick up, but again, we don't think that they're going to be incredibly impactful for all 4 quarters.
Hey, Sean, before we get into the further analysis here, I love this picture. Take a look at that stadium.
I know.
Look at if we have a northerly wind, there is like an opening right on the north side of that stadium, which is, I wonder if northerly winds may play more of a pivotal role there. It's interesting.
Good. So that's a super interesting question too to answer. Hey,
as we were showing on this map, the wind at the mesoscale is coming due north, and then you bring up the picture of the stadium, and boom. So it'll be interesting.
And those are the things that are very specific and unique to each stadium. That's not every stadium, again, has the same kind of turf, has the same structure. So those are things that we try to look at.
And just kind of brainstorming on that with the northerly wind, for kickers, we typically see kickers have a hard time in windy games, especially if the wind's moving, sideways, like from left to,
cross field.
Cross field, there you go, rather than parallel to the field location. So the kickers actually might not struggle as bad with the wind parallel to the actual field rather than perpendicular.
And then we got Raymond James Stadium. We got the Tampa Bay Bucks. Winds are probably actually going to be lower than this. We don't expect winds to really be a factor at Tampa Bay at all. But the precipitation from T-storms, thunderstorms, is going to be something we're going to need to monitor, and we'll update you on Sunday. But again, nothing that we want to say that will have a major impact on your starting lineup for this week.
So this is the first time that I kind of mentioned thunderstorms. We were only talking precip. Is there a chance for lightning or any delays that you guys see, or is it still hard to tell with, as you would say, the convection system? I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah, I mean, rain in Florida, typically Tampa, especially, is the lightning capital of the world, right? So whenever you get these unsettled...
is that why they're the Tampa Lightning hockey team?
Yeah, it is.
Man.
So,
Oh man.
anyway, we get a lot of these unsettled patterns for Florida, especially in Tampa. There is a chance for lightning, thunderstorms, and we typically see when there is lightning in the vicinity of a stadium, the game actually goes on delay. So, typically that will result. If it does rain, then it won't result in any impacts because of lightning delay.
And that's why I asked the question, because we were talking precip but not lightning. So it's just good to know the difference. But you're right. There's always chances with that, right?
But then remember, if it does get really saturated, like for instance, if there is a convective system that comes through, dumps a bunch of rain, it's going to be interesting to see, hey, are players going to have tough job getting their footing on the field if it's incredibly wet? Are they going to have trouble maneuvering while they're playing? So I don't know. It's something to think about.
I do want to mention, Sean, this is the second time I've seen these graphics, and I like the blog. Is this something that you and Nick have been working on in the background? Nick's our programmer, who's the fourth weather guy, and these are awesome little like cue card graphics. I like them.
Oh yeah, no, these this is something just quick. What we wanted to do is, the weather table is great. That's a great snapshot, but we also wanted to be like, hey, if that weather is going to be impactful, we want to know what players are going to be impactful. And right now, our weather table doesn't provide any player specific information, so that's where these kind of come in. It's just a good kind of summary card for what to expect.
And the pictures are great. So, to recap, stay tuned. As all fall weather, as you guys have taught me, very unpredictable right now. Go ahead.
Early fall. I was saying early fall.
Oh, okay. Again, always being corrected. Scientists that these two gentlemen are, accuracy, believe it or not, in their field is very important. And I say that honestly, so I lost my train of thought, well, whatever, Mike, early fall.
You were just,
Yeah, so right, got it back. Just stay tuned. Watch our weather table. It is updating live, and then you can go to the blog and our other products to look at the weather maps or the weather. What are we calling those cards? Cue cards? I'm going to call them cue cards.
The weather blog.
Weather blog.
Weather blog.
Yeah.
So
those were graphics.